Success.
Are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group. Copyrights 2017, all rights reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. And Hard Copy, as you know, seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, a lot about the PLP today, so listen up. The PLP not only lost the government, they may have also lost themselves in the process. And angry words of vitriol are now flying here, there, and everywhere. We'll talk.
Driving on West Bay in rush hour? Hard. Getting a new car to enjoy the ride? Easy. Carting the kids around after school? Hard. Getting a car to fit them all? Easy. Get an easy auto loan from Commonwealth Bank. Super low rates, fast 24-hour approval, no loan fee, and no payments for 2 months. So come to Commonwealth Bank, and your next car is easy. Commonwealth Bank. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's go! Hey! Remember when Granny said by save some for a rainy day? Living from paycheck to paycheck, you live in the worst way. Plan your future goals with POP, your future is bright, bright, bright. And you can buy that car, save regularly, your future's bright. And you can buy that house, save regularly, your future's bright. I see you in your business, yeah. Here's what you need to do. So a little reap a lot, higher interest from BOP. Go BOP, your bank of solutions.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
Listen up, Bahamas. Grow green to breathe clean. And Rocky Farms Nursery is the best place to start. They are your everything you are looking for store. New and improved. Bigger and better with varieties gone to bed. Soils, poinsettias, indoor and outdoor plants, fertilizers of every type, swordgrass, and the like. It's all at Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane. Go visit them today and behold. Call them at 324-1239. Fax them at 364-8113 or send them an email at rockyfarms@patelnet.bs. Rocky Farms Nursery.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
What are your travel plans this summer? The Ministry of Tourism invites you to visit one of our many unique family islands and explore the Bahamas like never before. Eleuthera, Exuma, San Salvador, and many more offer exciting vacation packages with affordable airfare, room rates, and exciting things to do. Andros, Bimini, Cat Island are to be considered too. This summer, do something different. Do something bold. Do something uniquely Bahamian. Travel to the Family Islands and rediscover the Bahamas. For more information, visit myoutisland.com.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
When John says, "Beloved, I pray that you prosper in all things and be in health as your soul prospers," he's asking, how is the health of your soul? What if your physical condition were only as strong as the health of your soul? If we paid the same amount of attention to the condition of our bodies that we are paying to our souls, would we be physically healthy? That's where we gotta start when we talk about prosperous kingdom builders. Because if you don't start there, your mind will only be on money. And if that's the case, God will not be able to trust you with kingdom wealth.
I'm very disappointed that the government promised to repeal the VAT tax, and people say give them more time and all of that. But after hearing what I heard about how some rich people got all these tax breaks and all that, the poor people, who the what? And I said the government, shut them in the government up. The government has made a mistake of not being fully the promise of repealing this VAT. That's something that they should have done from Jump Street. That should have been priority for the poor people.
You know, I think now the litmus test is going to be that, unfortunately, Kendrick Dorset is being used as the poster child. Don't use that statement, but a poster child on what is to come.
I don't want to get into a Dorset situation, but Steve, but I ask you if you heard anything about the ELD headquarters in Powder Road turning into a Chinese restaurant. We got to look into that. Not like they've been around there with cameras and stuff, looking around with kind of in the heart. So we got to check into that. You know, they like restaurants.
Looking at this one individual, he alone cannot be the only lone wolf in this thing. It has to be a few of them. And I'm just praying that he does the honorable thing. You talk about the Whistleblower Act. He needs to start blowing the whistle, because if we do not stop this level of corruption at this level, and that's exactly what it is, it means that those who have gotten away with it because their names were not called are going to continue perpetrating it, as while one suffers, they just continue to live the life.
I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that.
It is Tuesday, the 18th day in the month of July, 2017. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have on the outside mostly cloudy skies right now. There's a high right now at 88, low tonight of 82. Excuse me. There's a 40% chance of rain in the forecast as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy, and we're brought to you today by CFAL, Cleanup Financial Advisors Limited, Bank of the Bahamas, your bank of solutions, the Show Bistro on Nassau Street, Mount Tabor's Inspiration, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, Water and Sewage Corporation, the Ministry of Tourism, travel the islands this summer, Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Commonwealth Bank, Cool Tech, the Equity Experts on Tonic Williams Darling Highway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Super Wash, open 24/7, and Advantage Insurance and Broker, 61 Collins Avenue. We also brought to you today by Ron's Electric Motors on Claridge and Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group, for the best results in advertisement, public relations, and consultation. The big question today on the table is what will become of the Progressive Liberal Party? And that's a real question. That's not a question to provoke them. This is a real question that's being discussed among those in the group who, in fact, are calling for some heads to roll because they believe it is time for a change. Excuse me, isn't that the F&M logo? Anyway, that's what they're believing. It's time for a change at the helm of the overall picture of the leadership of the PLP. And because of that, the question that's being asked now is that, the PLP not only lost the government, they may have also lost themselves. In the process, angry words of vitriol are now flying here, there, and everywhere. And one only has to read the local newspapers to see that all is not well, and they may, in fact, find themselves in a very, very hard place at this particular time. Now, one would say, so why are we talking about them? They're finished and gone, and that may very well be so. But in the sake and for the sake of democracy, you always want to make sure that there is an alternative. Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what they told us in this whole new picture of new ideas where they say, there is no room for a DNA. There's no room for a third party. It is only the PLP and the F&M. Isn't that what they've told you? Well, the way things are looking now, there may not be enough space for both those particular parties, those two parties. And by that I mean the way that things are going, it seems as if the PLP may be getting ready to eliminate themselves from the entire process. And that's because of the kind of stuff that is now happening internally in that organization. Now, obviously, it has become public, and once it's in the public domain, we get to pick it up and we get to talk about it. And so in the words of one fellow who made it very popular, loose lips sink ships. And this may, in fact, be the case of the PLP, where the ship may be, the SS PLP may be ready to be sunk. And that may be good news for some people, but that's not good news for the body politic of the entire country, because whether we like them or not, and whether they have been good and whether they've been, not so good, the fact of the matter is that it's good for democracy that there's an alternative party somewhere on the horizon at all times, just in case. Just in case, you know how you people go. You may decide that you want to do it one more time and give another group 5 years and then change them. That's what you've been doing the last 20 years. You realize that? The last 20 years, no government has been able to get 2 terms. This is a very serious thing. This is a serious thing in our politics, and I want us to discuss it today because from a perspective of, just being pointed and frank, that a group of young people are now out there doing things. They're the Young Turks. They're within the PLP. And there are people like Renard Rigby and Chester Cooper and Phil Kalanis and many others. And they're doing things, and people are saying, go for it, because if they don't quickly rescue the PLP, they may implode or even become extinct. That's what people are saying. If these Young Turks don't quickly rescue the PLP, they may implode permanently, and they may become extinct. Why is all this talk happening so soon after the elections? Well, a lot of them don't believe that the former government, the past administration, had done things properly, that they are the ones who are supposed to be right where they are because they deserve it. They didn't take care of this country in a good way. And these are PLPs who are saying that. And as a result of not taking care of this country in a good way, this country is in dire straits right now. And the name of that particular party is beginning to fast lose its legacy. And it's like bad news, and it's like cuss words when you use that word, the PLP. That's how it seems. But, I mean, some may tell you that all is not lost, but the truth be told that, the PLP had better watch it because of the fact that there has been precedence precedence has been set before, you know. The United Bahamian Party, UBP, when we were small boys, we said, UBP, stink a pee, PLP all the way. That's what that was. That's what we used to say as little kids back in the 60s. Because that's how we felt, and that's the kind of disdain we had for this United Bahamian Party, because this new group was coming on the scene called the PLP. And the truth be told is that after the UBPs lost, and I told you this before, after the PLP lost, in this dispensation, this last time that they ran and they lost, and they got beat down into the ground. I told you then, the very next day after we came on the air, we said, if the PLP is not careful, based upon the decimation that they got, that's based upon the bashing, the beating of a lifetime, I said, if they're not careful, they may in fact go the way of the UBP. And of course, I was challenged by that. But I stood my ground on it, and I stand my ground on it today, because the things that are beginning to happen, friends, will tell you that this is very, very possible, that it could be over and they may have to find a new party to replace them. Listen to this. The UBP, after they were beaten so badly in 68, of course, in 67, there was a tie, 1818, you remember that. You know the history, you know the story, and you know what happened. The death of one precipitated a kind of a general election later on that year, the following year. And of course, in April of that year, I think it was, that Pinling decided that he was going to go for the whole hog. And them UBP boys were beaten so badly and finished. They were beaten under the ground, pretty much like how the PLP were beaten under the ground in this last election. Jeffrey Johnstone was the chairman of the UBP at the time. He got up and he said, you know, gentlemen, there was a big meeting that was convened over at the Garfunkel Auditorium. Back in the heyday, back in the day, that was the place that you met, you know, Garfunkel Auditorium. And he said, gentlemen, for all intent and purposes, it seems as if the UBP is dead. They looked around. What is this man talking about? We are the party of the people. We are a party that we took care of the Bahamian people all these years. I mean, what do you mean? He says, from the looks of things, the UBP is dead for all intent and purposes. Says, we won't be able to return this party after this meeting. He says, and it doesn't look as if there's any room for it to grow, not under these conditions that we now have. He says, gentlemen, I think it's very prudent for us, he told them, that we to find some new people. Some new people who would be a part of a new thrust that we can get back this government, but it's going to take an effort of all of the opposition forces. And it's going to take an effort, he said, where we can control things because we've got the money. I add that part in, but that's what he meant. He says, and if we can find a group of people who look like them, who talk like them, who live like them, but who listens to us, we shall be back. So said, so done. But it took them 20 years, 21 years to be exact. The FNM, you know what happened. Eventually, Cecil and those, the dissident got together, they blah, 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 and they decided that, okay, Penland, we later for you. Later for you, Mike, I'm moving on. The dissident was the first, and then, of course, it was Solomon and the SDP, and there was all the other people in the BDP and all kinds of other Ps got together, and they formed one big thing, and they called it the Free PLP at first. And, of course, they ended up calling it the Free National Movement because they all had the same, I suppose, you know, kind of exuberance and enthusiasm to become the government and to run things their way. But it would have taken them some time to get it done. It took them 20 to 21 years, thereabouts, before they could mount the seat of government and become the people who they figured would be able to deliver them. And it did take a delivery boy, as Penland called him, Hubert Alexander Ingram, who in fact came from the PLP into the Free National Movement 2 years earlier, around in 1990, 1991. And by 1992, he was ready to ride that horse. And he won. And the Free National Movement with him. And all the different parcels or groupings came along with that. And of course, the Free National Movement became the government. That was in 92. I tell you that story because the fact of the matter is that the key words here was that gentleman, Jeffrey Johnstone, for all intent and purposes, the UBP is dead. Maybe there's somebody somewhere in the background who wants to echo such words in the current state of affairs with the Progressive Liberal Party. And maybe they want to echo that because the truth be told is that they are not on one accord anymore. The blame game is happening. It's happening every day. There's a big fight that's going on. Everybody wants to be the leader. And the truth be told, I was told by one parliamentarian that, nobody inside this particular group called the PLP should want to lead unless they are an elected member of the four who are now in the House of Assembly. Paiswell Forbes was the author of that statement, and he said it. He says that he don't see anybody else leading the PLP at this time, and the leadership must come from one of the four who are now in. That four includes Glenys Hanna Martin, Brave Davis, not necessarily in that order, Paiswell Forbes, and Chester Cooper. Now, there's some similarities as I make the case here today, and I want your opinion and your views about it because these are important things to discuss. You mustn't just believe that everything is hot on the government and they got to do this and do that. Yeah, and there's some things that's happening right now that's good for democracy and that's good for good governance. But if you have a group of people who, in fact, may become extinct because of a party that is seemingly imploding, you could have a problem. Mission control, there's a problem. And so right now, what you're looking at is a group of young people who are ready to lead and who have been giving some serious instructions to the grouping of the PLP, and they have rejected it by and large. For instance, Chester Cooper says, look, I think I have to give you a real assessment as to what I believe is happening, and he did. And it was a hard-hitting assessment, but it was truthful. It was not a likable assessment by the body politic of the PLP, but it was one that's respected and appreciated by the general public. And his assessment was simple, His assessment was, look, you need to say you're sorry. Say you're sorry and say you apologize to these Bahamian people because you did bad. And he was putting it mildly. He was being very diplomatic. He says, you need to say you're sorry and you need to repent. Of course, repent rubs some people the wrong way. People like Fred Mitchell and them, that you don't use them kind of word around Fred Mitchell. Repent? So it rubs some people the wrong way that how dare you, Chester Cooper, come up and talk about repent? Don't you know that we have a particular code of ethics that we deal with? And there's no repentance at all whatsoever. It's pretty much like how some groups come out and they tell you, no retreat, no surrender. This whole thing about repent rubbed them fellas the wrong way, and they ain't for that. And so Paiswell Forbes came to the show some days later, and I suppose he summed it up by saying, repent and stoop down for what? Party like ours will repent and stoop down. That's like stooping down and no, he says. Of course, it made the headline in The Guardian the next day. So you see, there's some things that are happening that it's happening all by itself. It's an implosion. These things that are happening is scary for them because they still have so many bright people in that particular party that can, in fact, pull themselves together and move forward, even though they may have to wait for about 2 terms, some people seem to think. They might could get back there sooner, but when you got a Fred Mitchell saying that he won't be leader, and by the way, I spoke with a mutual friend of mine and Fred Mitchell, and when I say that, I'm being facetious end of it, his name is James Richard Blankenship. James Richard Blankenship. You may know him as the former ambassador of the United States to the Bahamas between 2001 and 2003. And he and Fred got along just super. They got along so super that every day there was a fight and a row. And, it got right down to the point where Blankenship, who was a no-nonsense fellow, was saying things to the Perry Christie governor at the time and the rest of them that, look, if you guys don't behave and hold Fred Mitchell into account, I'm going to not buy any bullets for the Defense Force vessels. I'm not going to buy them any bullets, and I'm not going to give them any vests. That's the kind of stuff that it got down to. So when I say that somebody asked me about him the other day, Fred, I said, well, Fred is just there. He says, how is Fred? I said, he's just there, he looks like he's trying to become the leader. Of course, we had a good chuckle. Good laugh. But it's possible, because anything is possible these days within the PLP. And so here it is, as I get back to the point, the fact of the matter is that there are some new people who want to do it their way, and they have some good ideas, and they may, in fact, bring along the people with them, the group, the support base. They may bring them along with them, because everybody knows that they need a change, but they're so steeped in this culture of, they're introverts in many regards, and their whole position is that, look, we do it this way. This is how we do it. All the old stalwart counselors and everybody else, this is how we run things. Y'all don't come here trying to mess. Don't come here trying to mess this groove up. We running this show. This is how we run it. And so it's going to be hard for any new fellas to get in there and to, it's like trying to extract a tooth. Down in there good, it ain't given. You got to do root canal. And so that's how the PLP grouping see it. I mean, after all, there was Alfred Sayers, and Alfred Sayers took on the leadership, took on and challenged Perry Gladstone Christie straight up front in January past. They sucked their teeth and ran him. In fact, Alfred did so bad, not that he was a bad person, because he was a very good choice. But, these comments are from people on the outside looking in. As far as the PLPs were concerned, Sayers wasn't a good man to do anything. And so they voted for him, or voted against him, in such a resounding way that Sayers did not even get 300 votes. Could you believe it? And that's on the fact that Christie stacked the cards against him by adding another another 300 and some to the kitty of the already 2,000 and some people who they had there to vote. Uphill battle. Didn't happen. Sayers didn't win. And you know the story after that. Christie went on to be the leader, but short-lived, because he's no longer the leader of the country. I say all of those things to tell you that there's a mix that's going on, and you need to be aware of it. And there may be a lot of people these days who, in fact, may want to somehow disassociate themselves from the PLP, because there are people in that group calling for heads to roll even now. The good thing that happened was that Christie, in fact, resigned right after the elections. After he lost his seat and everything, he resigned. And then, of course, there are some people who are calling for other people to resign. Bradley Roberts, they want him gone. I was particularly interested in finding out yesterday in the column that was written by one Phil Callanes, who's a diehard PLP, and he's been one of the generals in that party for a long time, and great influence. And one time ago, he gave up his many votes in the three-way run that they had for Christie, B.J. Nonage, and himself. He gave up his votes to Christie and made Christie the leader after running in the three-way run. And people don't remember that, but Callanes did that. So he has some stake. He has some currency still within the PLP. And he, in his column yesterday, it was kind of buried, but I saw it and I dug it up. And I read it, and it was quite interesting. He says, his observation, the national chairman, he's talking about the people who should sit down and shut up. That was the name of the column. He says, the national chairman. He says, we observed in an earlier column that the PLP leadership should call for and immediately accept the resignation of its national chairman, who, along with the leader, equally bears responsibility for the party's complete rejection at the polls, Galanis wrote. He says the national chairman is responsible for the orderly operation of the constituency branches, and there is no doubt that most of the branches were not functioning as they were intended for years prior to and in preparation for the general elections. And that's Bradley Roberts' fault. That's what he seemed to be indicating. He says, before the general election, the national chairman publicly announced that the PLP would win at least 28 seats. Either he was as delusional as his leader in that regard, or he was completely out of touch with what the branches should have been advising him. In either case, says Galanis, he should go, and he should go now. This is yesterday, you know. This is yesterday he wrote this. So while Mr. Roberts had been spouting off at the mouth and believing that he has been doing a good job of keeping the PLP alive in some regard and defending their misfeasance and the rest of it that they've been accused of, Galanis and that crew don't think so. They're not impressed. They say he should go, and he should go now. Now, you know, if I were to be the stickler here, I would say, boy, all the stuff that Bradley Roberts did for them, all that stuff that Bradley Roberts was doing for them all this time, keeping them alive when they were not in the game. That's what they say with Bradley Roberts. He must go, and he must go now. I mean, my Lord, I mean, there's Bradley Roberts thinking he's doing so good, trying so hard, keeping the F&M in check, you know, ridiculing them and keeping them at bay and trying to keep the PLP alive. It's all in vain. Galanis and those could care less if Roberts say the statements that he says, because they believe that his statements have been to the detriment of the party. Let me just read it to you. This is the column. It says, he says, just as Mr. Christie resigned as the leader of the PLP in the interest of advancing the party's chances for recovery, rehabilitation, and re-engineering, Mr. Roberts should not wait for the next party's convention to resign. He should do so immediately. You see what I'm saying? When I tell you there are problems there? Says, this is what Galanis said. He says, every single day, the relentless statements that are issued by this national chairman inflicts further damage to the party's brand and enable Bahamians to reconfirm that their decision to vote out the PLP on May 10th was the right decision. That's some hell of a stuff, eh? That's some serious stuff that Galanis put on him, eh? This is what Galanis said. Now, of course, Roberts is perhaps from the old school that Galanis them don't run no show. And so his position probably would be, he ain't checking for them, which will irritate the matter even more. And we will say to you, well, you perhaps would want to stay tuned for that. Because, you see, if they don't even implode quietly, there's going to be a dogfight. Now, of course, to Roberts' credit, Roberts did in fact say that he was prepared to not run anymore. He said that. He said that right after the elections. He says, you know, I'm not running anymore. I'm prepared to give it up and let somebody else run with it. And so there may be some other people running for it. But you see, Galanis and them already said it. And this is Galanis writing it, but this is more than Galanis. This is the whole group of these young fellas, you know, saying, man, go with your business. You don't hate this thing enough. You were right there at Christie them. You didn't do anything to reconcile. You didn't do anything to bring about redemption. You all are has-beens. That's what they're saying. Now, I don't know how that's going to work within the body framework of the PLP that is all about stalwart counselors who, in fact, they believe that that's the biggest badge that they can get on this side of the Jordan, that they have arrived to the point where they are stalwart counselor. Listen, there's nothing better than that. And there's a lot of them. You think that all of them come back on the side because some new fellas want to run the ship? This is a very serious thing. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. To you, it perhaps doesn't matter. But, you know, for the overall picture of this two-party system that everybody else seems to be pushing the envelope on, the Guardian this morning, the Nassau Guardian this morning just finished saying that again today, that, you know, there's no room for any other third party. Forget about the DNAs, they say. They say the DNA is wasting their time. They waste your time, you waste your money. Don't do that. Say, go join some other party. Go join either the F&M or the PLP. Of course, there's trouble in all the camps as far as, you know, when it comes to politics. So every political party goes through politics and goes through problems. But this particular problem, I am telling you, may give us indication that this one could be over for the PLP as it used to be known, unless something quickly happens. Because you're not talking about just a bunch of new people who want to, you know, come up and just take the party. You're talking about trying to move the old landmark and still say that's the PLP. That ain't gonna happen. What do you think? Do you think that will happen easily? All things considered. Do you think that Christie has nothing to do anymore with the PLP party? Do you think, I mean, you know, what do you think? What are your views on that? And is it a situation where we may be looking at a new, completely new PLP, pretty much like how the F&M group got out there and said they call themselves the Free National Movement or the Free PLPs? That's the initial thing that they call themselves, you know. Will history repeat itself? When they first got out, they say, we are free at last. Remember Cecil Wallace? Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. And they call themselves the Free PLP. Will this group that's now emerging become the Free PLP? And then the new PLP? Because a lot of people will be fighting against being a part of that group. That group is finished. The group that we saw in the last elections, for all intent and purposes, they are finished. That group, nobody has any faith in them. That's it. That's it for that particular group. I don't know how Picewell Forbes and others are believing that they can form a new group of parliamentarians who, in fact, want to now run that party with the same kind of machinery that they had in the old group, that this new group of 4 members of parliament should be the ones where the leadership should come from, and they can just go on their mosey, their merry way, and just do things that they always were doing things. What do you think? 325-023546. We're talking about them today just because I believe that you need to look at the big picture and not only just look at what the government is doing at this particular time, what they aren't doing at this particular time. We're talking about a country that believes in a two-party system. And we're looking at a country that obviously believes that there is no other alternative other than the PLP or the F&M. And there's nobody else out there to look at. Nobody. Not no CCR or no CCD or no People's Movement or no DNA or nothing. Just keep your eyes on 2 groups. That's what they're saying. But this particular group may go the way of the UBP. This particular present group of PLPs. I want to put that out there today. I will say, I believe that they will go that way. Do you believe that they'll become extinct? I believe that they'll become extinct. This particular group. I believe some new fellas will come and take over that group. Perhaps we'll call it something else altogether. It may have the ideals of the PLP, but it may not be the PLP as you know it. So that whole thing about PLP, all that may become a thing of the past. I'm only saying, you can challenge me on it. I want to have fun with it today because, you know, the truth be told is that what they should be really doing is emptying themselves, moving off the scene, and making way for the Chester Coopers of this world. And anybody else who they may want to attract to bring about the kind of resurgence of the philosophy of a great party that once stood the test of time. This is a ghost of itself, and it perhaps cannot. It's feeble. It's fumbling through the dark, and it's a feeble group now. No matter how much you inject an Alfred Sayers or this one or that one, and no, they have to finish off with that particular bunch. They have to bury that particular group. Do you think that they're prepared to do that? Because, you know, it is not too late to do that and get yourselves ready in time to be in a safety net in case the people decide that they want to do one more change before they go for a two-term for any government. Last 20 years, they vote you in, they vote you out. They vote you in, they vote you out. That's happened now in 4 cycles. Can these guys put something together that can make them attractive? Because in a couple of months, you see, there's a window here, you know. I didn't tell you this, but there's a window here. In a couple of months, if they don't get it together, in a couple of months, see, theirs is more urgent than the Free National Movement. The Free National Movement got 5 years that they have. We know that they have 5 years. The window for the PLP is so short because it takes only a couple of months to pull it together to make yourselves anew. And if they don't do that, people are turned off. They ain't interested in you. Later for you, Mike, I'm moving on. That's what will happen. Now, you don't have to believe Steve, but I've been around to know this thing. I'm telling you, the window is very, very small. That small window will cause problems if, in fact, they are not able to do it quickly. So I'm listening to your call, 325-0235 or 6. You give me a call. I will talk with you today. And I got calls on the line, so let me take a couple of these calls. Good afternoon, Hard Copy. How are you?
Beginning, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hi, good, man. How are you?
I have a funeral announcement to make.
What the
Hello?
The PLP is dead?
Last ride for the Progressive Liberal Party died May 10th, 2017. The party met its demise because of all those who was attached to the Penland regime refused to step aside and allow the young, vibrant men to take their rightful place.
So when are they going to be buried?
Well, I think they are now making funeral arrangements. But to be honest with you, Ms. McKinney, I totally agree with you. I don't think the PLP will see the government for the next 20 years.
Yeah, the way that they're going and the things that they're not doing. You know, the quick thing that you do, the leader resigned. You want to now rally around the leader, say, okay, you resigned. That's good. Who else resigned? Let me have the hands of who already. Good. See y'all later. And have a big banquet for them and see them later. But what is happening now, if they really care, they would need to try to reorganize themselves with real people. Not this. They have to just distance themselves from that old grouping. Until they do that, my friend, when you hear PLP, you say corruption, even if they were not corrupt. That is the way it is.
Mr. Cooper looks pretty good, so he looked like the face that they should try to.
You think they'll rally around Cooper, but they ain't like how Cooper talking. Cooper is a kind of a Christian fella. And by that, I mean he has Christian principles and values. And so he believes that you do things properly, that, you repent and you go for penance and you try to ask for forgiveness and you try to do better. They're not into that kind of talk. Cooper talking fool as far as some of them fellas are concerned.
Yeah, they have to move away from this mindset of entitlement and ownership. Yeah. They have the mindset that they're entitled.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the party. Those persons who would have really done their good diligence. I think it's time for them to step aside.
But do you think, for instance, that Bradley Roberts, for instance, how he is now being pushed out the door? He is unceremoniously being just go, man, just go. That's what they're saying to him. Do you think that he is likely to just fall back just like that?
Well, I think for the best interest of the party, he has done well for the party, so it's time for him to go as well.
I see. I appreciate your call.
They need a new voice.
I appreciate your call. But if they need a new voice, who will be that voice? I mean, Bradley Roberts, whether you like him or not, Big Bad Brad, as he was called. I named him that some years ago when I and Boozy Rule used to do the talk show, You Make the Call, every Tuesday down at More FM back in the day. And he got that name Big Bad Brad because he just wouldn't stop rowing and hitting on the desk and things like that. Big Bad Brad. But, you know, he has done a tremendous job for them. He has. You don't have to like him, but he has done a tremendous job for them. He kept them alive when they had no way of saying anything. They couldn't articulate anything. He kept them alive with the PR and stuff like that when their PR people fell down and went to sleep. He kept them alive. He kept them relevant. So for keeping them relevant all that time, he's now being told, go to Pastor Man. We don't want to hear from you. And there's a way that he may feel about that. But then again, he may be, thank you very much, see y'all later. It may not be a big thing to him. But it don't look good. It just gives you an indication as to how they just destroy and eat their own. Just like how the people say they eat their young. The young people don't get no play in that party. They're saying now that even they're old, if they don't eat them, they will at least roast them and then feed them to somebody else. That's how they're doing this thing. No laughing matter not for the PLPs, but it's a serious thing because you all say that we have a two-party system, and you may have to look for another party to replace the PLP because from the looks of things, nothing's happening. Not this group. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve. How are you today?
Very good, thanks.
I just tuned in very quickly here. I listened to your dialogue a couple seconds ago about apparently the public opinion that this country does not have any place for a third party.
That is what's on the lips of so many people.
That I think the time is right for a third party to emerge. I think the time is right for a third party to actually lead this country.
What are you saying? That the DNA must hang in there because it looks as if there's a place for them?
Trust me, the DNA is hanging in there. The DNA is in there. We have not gone anywhere. We have virtually said on so many levels, just as some of the other pundits from the other parties have claimed, that we're going to give we've basically given the F&M party a chance to step up to the plate and provide some of the solutions that they claimed that they had on the campaign trail. We do not want to prejudge them. And in fact, any sensible Bahamian would like to see that the governing party do succeed in some of their mandates, because then it's beneficial for everyone.
Yes, indeed. I go with you on that. No problems.
Yeah, it's beneficial for everyone. So therefore, for persons who are espousing the mindset that the third party will not make it in this country, let me tell you something. The only thing in life that is constant is change. And just as UBP was once in the sunset, and the sunrise and disappeared in the sunset, likewise, the PLP's demise is primarily on the wall. The F&M is, in so many estimation, they have not won on the merits that they have done in the past. In fact, the public perception is that they won because basically they just wanted the PLP party out. So therefore, it is incumbent upon the F&M to really produce a whole lot of the rhetoric that they had on the campaign trail.
Which is why, my friend, if you go by that line of thought, right? Which is why the next government, whenever they are elected, must be a government in waiting, to the point where they must be showing and displaying that they are there to catch the country if, in fact, these guys who you say are only there because of the rejection of the PLP, they won on the rejection of the PLP. And if you're saying that they may not be there long themselves, then who is the other group that's going to be there to, intercept, to catch the country, and to run with it?
To go to that next level, and here's my mindset, it's my personal opinion. I believe that the next set of persons would be persons across the political divide, whether it's persons from the PLP who support the PLP, persons who support the FNM, persons who support the DNA, people who support the independent. I believe that this thing is no longer just about party. It's about persons who are prepared to work hard to bring forth the solutions.
Ideally, that's the right thing. Ideally, that's the right thing. I suppose that we would like to see a group of people come together and, a gathering of different groups that will just make it happen. But, the best chance that the PLP has right now, in my view, and you look at them, would be to embrace the Raynard Rigby and the Chester Coopers and those people of that particular ilk and of this. They are the ones who can now bring about a change in the direction of where that grouping wants to go, if they're going to still be under that banner. But it'll be a new group. They'll have to still differentiate as to who they are and who this old group of once upon a time PLPs were. So they're still lost in there. There's still going to be some level of loss. They've got to find ways and means to grab an Alfred Sayers and people like that, those who are now on the forefront, at the forefront of what can happen as a big change for them. But if they don't do that, they will become totally irrelevant within the next few months. And you will remember this show by me saying the same things that I said earlier, right after the elections, about 8, 9, 10 weeks ago, that look, if they don't watch their steps, they could become just like the UBP before them, gone without a trace. That can happen.
I'll close with this statement, Steve, and I agree wholeheartedly with your sentiments. I mean, I could not agree with any statement that you made just now. But I'll close with this. The chance of the PLP right now, I think the mindset is that they're all inclusive and it's all about the certain clan within that grouping. I believe in order to break that so-called perception, is that whether it be Alfred Sayers, whom I admire highly, I admire him greatly. Chester Cooper, I don't know him very well, besides his career path. But I've been following Alfred Sayers for quite some time. And I'm going to tell you, if Alfred Sayers can attract persons not solely in the PLP ranks, because I'm going to tell you, he's highly admired by a lot of people outside here who are not PLP.
Indeed.
But if he is able to attract persons and win their trust, bring them into the fold, because they want to move that party into a different direction. If he is willing to do that and demonstrates that to the Bahamian people, the PLP under that banner has a chance to regain and recoup itself to perhaps some semblance of moving the party in the right direction. And I think once he is able to do that, then I think the party, for all the good that it has done for the Bahamian people, they would then begin to be looked at favorably in a different light other than the light that they are in right now.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. The bottom line is this, right? As we take a look at this whole thing, will the PLP become extinct? That may not be the prettiest choice of words for a number of people because they love their PLP, and we are very sensitive to that they do. But there's some things that are reality. This is a different time, and young people ain't got no time to waste. And Christie had a tremendous opportunity to make something happen with the young men that he did have, and he made a mess of it. And he has not apologized for it. And he still is not apologizing for it. There's still some things that he can do to turn things around. His apology means a whole lot to this nation. If he says sorry, some people may look at it with a different way, that yes, they messed up and they went astray. But there's always forgiveness when people say sorry. But he's been on that trend for a long time. He's not been saying sorry. He flipped the bird and he didn't say sorry. They tried to sell it that he did say sorry and insulted the rest of us because we ain't got no sense when people say, we don't know when people say they're sorry. That's what they did. So here it is. Phil Kalanis in his column took a look at it and he sized them up, He says, one of the first things he said was, let us start with an apology. Why would he say that? He is more a senior man. He is not as youthful as Chester Cooper. But he says the same thing that Chester Cooper says. Why don't we start with an apology? It's a good place to start. They ain't want to listen to Phil Kalanas. Phil Kalanas has always been giving them good advice. But people who give good advice, no one listens to them because they think they know better. And here's what Phil also said. He says, look, in their haste, in the PLP's haste to gain the public platform, too many persons are speaking on behalf of the PLP. Sitting MPs and senators on a regular basis jump at the opportunity to advance their personal positions on matters of national importance as soon as a reporter places a microphone or a tape recorder in their face. He says that's unfortunate. He is saying that the exuberance of these guys is that it's all about me, myself, and I. I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm the pappy. And it showcases this disorganization, lack of organization. They're disorganized. And they don't even seem to know it. And their exuberance to go then spout off at the mouth and say these things and make these declarations, they still are pretty much punch drunk from that shellacking. And as a result of it, they're not anytime soon about to heal. That's what the bottom line really is. I mean, if you really look at it, and PLPs will tell you that. They're not about to apologize anytime soon. In fact, as Picewell Forbes said, an apology, man, we don't play that way. We don't ride like that. We don't throw down. He says we don't throw down like that. We don't stoop to them levels to apologize and say what and repent. What you talking about? Because Chester Cooper had said that he suggested that that's a good place to start. That's called humility. But, there's nothing with regards to humility, it appears, when it comes to the politics of the PLP. And so there is a problem that they have. It may not be our problem. You may say, well, we don't care. You will care, because the truth be told is that you always need leverage. There's always got to be an alternative to what our situation is now. That is just the way that we need to make sure. You can imagine if the governing party right now have no problems, no worries. I mean, why shouldn't they just cruise and do what they feel like? Well, if there's nothing to keep them in line from an opposition point of view, I mean, what's the big deal? This is how close we are to the kind of craziness that I'm telling you about today. You need to have something else there just in case, just to make some noise. Or are you suggesting to me that the media is going to have to do that? That's what we have an opposition, loyal opposition party for, You realize that? Anyway, Picewell Forbes recently.
Husband and wife have their challenges, you get mad. You sleep in the front room for a day or two, and whatever, you go away to Miami and you cool down, you go watch the Dolphins football and they come back home. The fact of the matter is the people got mad with the PLP. I'm not going to go and surmise all the reasons. We've heard some of the reasons. I'm not going to deduce them on national radio. But the fact of the matter is that the Progressive Liberal Party still stands. People understand this philosophy and history when they believe in, and Bahamian people they know that we need to come back to that. And that's why I think we're going to be okay. But we must address some issues in the party, clear up some things about our image, and the optics must be right. People must see us in a certain light. The optics are important. I remember those words from P.J. Patterson, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. The optics and politics must be right, and we must find a way to redress that. And we're now on a way to do just that.
The optics must be right, and it must be accurate, and it must be believable. Having optics that are just false and crazy and stuff, it ain't gonna cut it, Picewell Forbes. And you're right. Optics is just a part of it. You've got to do some serious cleaning house. You've got to do some serious concentration on how you are going to say you're sorry, how you're going to show humility. And the people of the Bahamas are still waiting for an apology, even if it's just the way that you say you apologize for a miserable 5 years that they spent. Nothing is going to happen before that happens. And so all the optics and stuff that you're talking about it sounds all fancy. And, these days, optics is the new choice word. I might as well tell you, that is the new handle now. The optics must be right. Well, the optics. So what are the optics? Well, the optics for the optics is the optics. Well, the optics must be, yeah. good. The truth be told is that you can call it what you want. The bottom line is that the people know honest to goodness humility. When you're sorry, you're sorry. And when you say you're sorry, people may start to listen to something what you're saying. But until then, Chester Cooper is right, and it appears that the rest of them are wrong because no one hearing what they're saying. Even Phil Kalanis is now had enough of this nonsense because he says we should stop with an apology. And if the PLP really understood the message of May 10th, he says, the new party leader, Philip Davis, should humbly admit that the PLP government made many mistakes while in office and that many of the mistakes were indefensible and inexcusable, and that on behalf of the PLP, he would like to apologize to the Bahamian people for those mistakes. Can Brave Davis get himself to say stuff like that? You think? Hard copy, how are you?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey, Steve, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, man. Excellent show as always.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start, first of all, by saying, with regards to the statement that I heard the previous caller said, while I believe his contributions are always, relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been hearing it a lot, and I just want to, put a stop to it, the fact that Bahamian people voted for the F&M simply because they just wanted to get rid of the PLP. Mr. McKinney, I don't believe that at all.
What do you believe?
Because I'm not one of those. I believe that there are at least 35 different reasons why we voted for the F&M. I can give you 5 right offhand. Dr. Hubert Minnis, Dr. Dwayne Sands, Dionisio Diagala.
Understood.
Marvin
Dame, Jeff Lloyd.
And the others. Simply because if you really take a look at the expertise and the fields that these gentlemen are capable in, you can see that based on their portfolio, they've been assigned to, try and bring some relief, to this country and to all the issues that we've been having. So I don't believe that, we voted simply just, I mean, that may be a reason, but I don't think that it's the main reason. And so, I just want the Bahamians to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, with regards to Bradley Roberts, Mr. McKinney, I must say, as a human being and as an individual, I like and I respect Mr. Roberts highly. But to me, with all due respect, he makes absolutely no sense. And the thing about it is that
my goodness,
when my parents and my grandparents would have, lived and loved, to hear one Bradley Roberts speak, those days for me are long gone. I believe that we do not, as young citizens in this country, I believe that we owe absolutely nothing to these leaders. We're very grateful that, they would have played that important role in, our freedom, but, that has been gone, and I believe now that, they actually owe us. And also, Mr. McKinney, with regards to Mr. Christie, I don't think that we're ever going to get an apology from Mr. Christie. He said that he was forming his legacy, and we can all see that Mr. Christie is a person, once he makes up his mind, that's it. Ain't no turning back for him. So I believe, it is what it is. We're going to get what we've gotten. And I believe now that the image that is being portrayed by the PLP, Mr. McKinney, let me tell you something. I believe that this is all, I don't want to use the word ploy, but for lack of a better word, I will, by the PLP. I think just like Piper Forbes, the words that he would have used, the optics must be right. You understand? So I believe what they're doing now is they're forming an image for this new PLP. So here's what we're going to do. All the old armors, all the people that would have caused, our defeat in the last election, we're going to ridicule them. We're going to call them out. We're going to be.
That's not going to be enough for the Bahamian people.
You understand? And so we're going to make it appear as if, okay, we're cleaning house. But Mr. McKinney, I'll tell you where they need to start. They need to start in the Senate with one Fred Mitchell, because I believe that once he stays relevant in the PLP, they will never ever see the reins of this government or country again.
So you said not Michael Dowell. You says who?
I said Dr. Fred Mitchell.
Child, please.
You know, Mr. McKinney. I mean, it to me, you know, I mean, I just believe that, you know, once they start, you know, from the very root, you know, with those such persons, then, you know, I mean, I believe that they have a very long time. I believe they have about a year or so, you know, to do what they need to do, and so
I hear you.
They start to clear things up from those perspectives in terms of Mr. Mitchell.
I appreciate it,
Roberts. I believe things will be much better. I don't think the PLP is dead. I believe that the PLP is well alive.
I see
that their grassroots is still strong.
Okay, I appreciate what you're saying. I put that down on my paper. That makes sense to me. Let's hope that's what it is. But you know, one of the reasons why the window is so short for them, let me just explain from my perspective. Why the window is so short for them is because the Young Turks are restless. Time is of the essence, and they have to rebuild. They've got to do many, many levels of rebuilding. This particular year, called 2017, is basically gone. I'll tell you why. The government of the Bahamas now, that's on summer break, summer recess, and they don't get back until September, the middle of September, somewhere around there. That's 1 year gone. You see, the parliamentary season really doesn't start in earnest until they get back in September. So when you look at that, this year is gone. This year is gone for opposition. This year is gone for government. When they get back, you go into October, November, December. You understand? So there's nothing much that you can hold on to there. The legislative agenda, when they get back, they will perhaps get some things done, and the concentration is going to really be trying to sew up and show up our best efforts to impress Moody's and them. That's where the focus is, the concentration is going to be. So that's 1 year then gone. You got 4 years come January. You need to understand a couple of things. In opposition politics, you have to strike within a reasonable time, which is about 6 months at max, to show that you got gravitas to take out the fellas. You've got to be so organized that you've got to start putting punctures in the tire from that early in the game to set your road, to set your ideas, to set your mix in there. There's a time frame for that. And that's why their window is very small. So it may very well be that they have a whole year, as the gentleman said. He may feel that they have a whole year. But he didn't say anything good about them that would make you believe that they can come back and they can get it together. They have got so many things to deal with internally that it's unbelievable. Remember now, I mentioned the Stalwart Councils. I mentioned that entrenched kind of philosophy that they have, that, you know, where y'all going, who y'all is. You got to understand this. And a lot of them ain't moving out nowhere. You crazy? It's their party. And so for any new fellas that come inside there talking fool, they will tell them, hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more. That's how this works. Most young people who told me about them trying to join into the PLP, including some young fellas like Paul Moss and Fane Thompson and all these fellas. Fellas, I'm telling them, hey, Chief, you just reached. Sit down and shut up. That's how this thing is. So it's going to be a hard thing to penetrate for anyone who was there before, like a Renard Rigby, and who wants to be there now, like a Renard Rigby, and others, because they know how they have to toe the line. And that is the entrenched philosophy of the internal happenings of that party, to the point where it is not an easy thing to topple or an easy thing to get around. Ask Albert Sayers. This man had been Minister of Education, Minister of the Attorney General's office. He's been an AG and the Minister of Education. Double whammy on two ministries that were very, very difficult, and he was the one who had to get us in all that trouble with the OECD things and the blacklisting, and they couldn't even remember them things when they was going to the elections in January of this year, a banner election year, to even give them a consideration. They don't play, not that group. You got a total lie. And so that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a very difficult thing, but it's not my position. I'm just, it's not my, it's nothing that I can do anything about. I'm not interested. But the point is this, for good governance and for balance and the rest of it, you would want to see that they can pull it all together. But I don't think that they'll be able to pull it together. That's why I tell you, I challenge you today, and I say it today. This may be the beginning of the end. This may very well be the beginning of the end if they can't pull it together. And you look at the leadership who want to be in charge of the party now. And you may say he has all the tools and the monies and the organization skills, but, look again. When you talk about a Brave Davis, Alfred says may have all the skills and the leadership qualities, but does he have what it takes in the internal grouping of that PLP party, where them stalwart councils reside, and they're the gods of the new world? I say it like that because I want you to get the picture. You see, no little walk over, push over thing, boy. It's the PLP, the great PLP. Anyway, Hard Copy, how are you? Hi there.
Hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, reconciler here. McKinney, I listened to you. I listened to the previous caller. He made some good points, but I disagree with some of the elements of what he said in regard to the PLP. Now, England just had a general election a few weeks ago. Theresa May, they trying to, this Brexit thing, that's the big thing right now, to get out of the European Union Federation or whatever they call it. And Theresa May has had a good majority in the House, the Conservatives. Mm-hmm. When this election, she lost that majority. Mm-hmm. And she had to go and hook up with some Irish in Northern Ireland. Yep. Mm-hmm. And the Labour Party, they pick up some point. You remember Jeremy Corbyn, some months ago, they was trying to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And just kick him out. But now he has some relevancy right now since that election. Mm-hmm. The Labour Party is looking strong, although they're not the government. They are a great opposition. And they're lying to become the government when a next election is called. So what I'm saying that the PLP has made a mess out of the fiscal situations country. Crime is gone amok, and the immigration, everything is out of whack. Mm-hmm. The FNM, they came in not really because, you remember, public domain had the Unwale Rahman, he did it. 54% said they voted for the FNM. Not because they so much love the FNM, but because they wanted to get rid of the PLP so bad.
Yeah, that's on record. Mm-hmm.
And that is record. And they have some good credibility, this lobbying group. So what I'm saying is that you cannot disregard these things. Now, the Bible has something called restitution. When you do some bad things, even God, he commands you to repent, and not only to repent, but to make restitution. Mm-hmm. Give something back. Mm-hmm. Remember Zacchaeus? Mm-hmm. Zacchaeus' conscience tell him when Jesus passed by, said, the Lord, the half of my good I give to the poor. And if I've taken anything from any man, I ain't know he thief from the people. Mm-hmm. By false accusation, I return to them fourfold. Mm-hmm. The PLP need to get rid of, for them to be relevant or not go into oblivion, they must begin to humble themselves and make restitution. Now, we talk about, let them go for the corruption and the bunch of foolishness that happened under Perry Christie. There's nowhere in hell we can let that go. This is why most of the people voted for the FNM, that they could, get this thing. Now, the FNM not supposed to say, well, stop government or, don't govern. They must let the organs of the state, the police, and all the courts and all them that are dealing with this thing, let them do their job. They must find a way to get this economy going, to get crime. Crime has gone up by 17% since May 10th. So these are things they got to do and get, see, ain't no big, what you call that thing when people get my honeymoon? Ain't no honeymoon. They got to do something because as it stands now, people are still hiding. Matter of fact, the doldrums are still here more than ever before. People are still hiding. The FNM came in and they told an untruth to the people. They said they're going to repeal what? They did not do it. They gave some major breaks to rich people, even with the getting the business license. That's cut practically in half. For the rich people get everything. But the rich man's budget in the mind of many people like myself in the city. And the FNM cannot take this thing for granted. Don't take the Bahamian people for granted like the PLP did. Why? Because we're not in love with you. We're in love with the Bahamas.
I hear you.
We want you to govern. We elected you to govern, not to go on some joyride and think you are 35 and 4. All right, 35, 4. No, sir.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear
overnight.
I hear you, Reconcile. I hear you loud and clear. I hear what you're saying, and that even sets up the focus now of if you are chasing down the Free National Movement and saying that they better do this and they better do that and they better do their jobs, which most people are hoping that they do. And if they don't do it, then what's the alternative? You see my point now? Then what's the alternative? Do we continue coasting up and down about the yo-yo game, the yo-yo effect of politics in the Bahamas, 5 years in, 5 years out, 5 years in, 5 years out? Do we keep up with that particular thing? That's not good, you know. That's not good. It wasn't good for Jamaica. And it won't be good for us, even though it's a different time. But people ain't got no time to waste. And that's why I'm saying, you know, this is our business pretty much, whatever happens within that grouping called the PLP. Because with the things that people are spinning now, that there's only two parties and the DNA could finish and forget it and all that. And then you have to look and see if this is the opposition with a four-man team, and this is the government with a 35-man team. If things go bad, and we hope that they all go good and everything works out well, but if things go bad, what's the alternative? What do you do? And will the PLP be in striking distance, or will they even be alive? Will they even be, when I say alive, I'm talking about not extinct. Will they be in position to do anything about it? The way that things are going now, based upon the optics, to use Picefolk's word, it don't look so. It don't look like they'll be around. And that's a troubling thing when you really think of it. It don't look like they'll be around. You see, Loftus Roca, who I don't really follow too much on Loftus Roca, to be honest with you, I think that he has done well to keep himself relevant when the press goes to him for comment about these things. He's right on the button when he says that this arrogant group of PLPs, they face oblivion. That's what he said. That's the headline of Tribune today now. That they face oblivion. No more. Go get lost. That's it. And I said a particular way. I said that, you know, they could become extinct. You see, people may not realize what is happening here, but, you know, the warring that's going on internally and the fact that they're stubborn in their way about how things should really be going. They don't see the light. If a group of fellas don't see the light and someone tell them, man, say you're sorry and let's move on, boy, trouble in the camp. If they can't see the light of day in that particular regard, you're dealing with some people who just hard of hearing. They don't understand anything. They don't get it. They just don't get it. And not getting it means that they may never get it again. That is the government. Because they're in a real crucial situation. As I say, many people say, who cares? I know I have a lot of friends who are of a different hue and many who are of the same hue who could say, good riddance. They ain't gone yet. We don't care about them. They too bad. They too bad, you see. Say, they don't want to see them no more. Oblivion, says Loftus Roca. He's a man 80-odd years old. If he can see it, how come they can't see it? They can't see it because they don't want to see it. Because if truth is in them, they would be living up to the truth. When Chester Cooper spoke the other day, Chester Cooper was absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. He could move ahead of the class. And he showed courage to do that. This new little fella upstart, some fellas in the PLP call this little upstart come around here talking this. We gave him a chance to run next to him. He went that night. He think who he is. They will not see what he is saying to be true. And that's what the too bad is. Let me take a couple of calls before I run to the break. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello, Dr. Steve McKinney.
Peace, how you doing?
All right, here listening to you talk. I think you are right when you say the PLP is finished. Because I look at it and say Brad Davis is like a shark in the water now. And anybody who joined the PLP, try to take over, he'll eat them. Because he ain't giving up his post. He hungry for that post to be prime minister.
Yeah, I see.
Superior of being prime minister, he won't be that too. There ain't nobody coming there to take that post. So this ain't
You can't blame Brave. Brave waited his turn, and he expects to execute on that. The only trouble is that I don't know how much he remains relevant by the time it's 2022 come around for the next election. I don't know how much he'll remain relevant, but I know this. Alfred Sayers has been gearing up high gear to do as much as he can do to rescue that group. But, you know, Alfred is such a good guy, and good guys finish last is what they say.
Yeah, so.
You know? But that's up to them. We'll see.
So this is what I'm saying now. Alfred Sayers is a good man, but he ain't gonna never get the people as Brave Davis like Perry. Perry would think you get up, tell the people, get rid of him. Okay? Now, then I want to say this, Hard Copy. Do you know, you ever noticed that we had 3 colors?
3 colors?
Yes. Red, yellow, and green.
Uh-huh.
And we never try green. We always try red and we try yellow.
Yes.
So it will come a time, I will tell you, if the F&M don't do the job, Prime Minister don't do the job what he supposed to do, minutes, this election, and when you see that 5 years up and the people ain't pleased, they ain't going to the PLP because the people finished with them. And you know, there are Bahamian people them looking for something to happen to the country, so automatically they have to go to the DNA.
So you saying the DNA should hang in there?
Yet. We don't use red all the time and we use yellow. So green is the real, you know that red is to say stop. And yellow is caution. When you see danger, stop. But the green is to give the light. So it might be that when it boils down, if they ain't do, green will take over and do what we have to do. So all I can say, have a blessed day.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
Okay.
Okay. All the best to you. Yeah. He puts it in a simple term. Green mean go. Yellow mean caution. Red means stop. He says if you look at it that way and these fellas don't perform as the way that they are anticipated to perform, could be trouble in the camp. And if there's trouble in the camp, what do? Do you go to yellow or do you go to green? If yellow finished, then I guess green is the automatic choice. But everybody is written off green. I don't know how this is. I tell you this morning, the Nassau Guardian has an editorial this morning that says, please, DNA, stop it. Forget it. Leave it alone. Don't try it no more. Says Brian has already tried it twice and failed, so please give up. You think if the people back in the day with Abraham Lincoln had said that to him, he would have just said, okay, I packed it in. You know how many times Abraham Lincoln tried to become the president of the United States and lost and lost? The closest example to Abraham Lincoln in the Bahamas is Sandy Sands. Not Sandy Sands, Bean Sands. Bean Sands been left after Lizzie all that time. He been courting Lizzie, and Lizzie just wouldn't even check for him. Lizzie keep cutting an eye at him. Then, bam, third time was a charm. He gone into Lizzie, and man, they ain't only fall in love. They get married. Now Lizzie on honeymoon. Doggone it. That's right in the break, Steve. He's the closest example to an Abraham Lincoln. Those who had in the circle all this time and couldn't pull off a win, and then just like that. But it happened just like that, though, for the other fellas on the PLP side. Renard Rigby seemed to be a good fellow who people are looking at. Phil Kalanis himself, I don't know if he's interested. Chester Cooper, yes. And of course, according to Paisel Forbes, they all are okay, but if they're not a part of the four who now make it to Parliament, then they shouldn't even be looking to be leader of the PLP, says Paisel Forbes. The leadership should come from himself, or Brave Davis, or Chester Cooper, or Glennis Hanna Martin. That's what Paisel said. There's more to come in a minute. You can call me 325-023516. I've got a bunch of text messages. I'm going to read some of those when I come back from the break. Hang tight. This is Hard Copy Live.
Ah, it tastes so good. Fresh, clear, ultra pure. Available at your neighborhood depot and nearest store. Echo Water, premium distilled. Don't be surprised. It comes in just your size. 20 ounces, 1 and 5 gallons, and 1.5 liters. Echo Water, just what the body needs.
It was an easy choice going back to water and sewage because when I was on the well, water smells, the pressure was always low. But the water and sewage, have better quality water, and also the pressure is always high.
The Water and Sewage Corporation's offer of 50% off sign-up services is back for residents in New Providence and the Family Islands. Offer valid for a limited time only. Some restrictions may apply. Sign up today. The Water and Sewage Corporation. Committed to growth. Committed to quality.
Based on the premise of anything you can do, we can do better in the Bahamas. The Bahamian Brewery is 100% Bahamian owned and operated. Our thanks to you, Bahamas, for supporting our family of beers and beverages. Sands, Sands Light, High Rock, Strong Back, Bush Crack, Pink Sands, and Triple B. Brewed and bottled here and consumed right here in our Bahamas. Now that's truly Bahamian. The Bahamian Brewery encourages all of its fans to drink in moderation.
Okay, there's no denying it. Summer is here, and the only thing that can compete with this heat are the weekly specials at Super Value and quality supermarkets.
First Choice Sugar, 4.4 pounds, $1.99. Grill Master Beef Patties, 5-pound box, $8.99. Kellogg's Corn Flakes, 24-ounce, $3.99. Value Time Towel, 1 roll, 99 cents. Whole watermelons, $4.99 each. And Guatney Bologna, 12-ounce, 2 for $3.
Hot prices for hot days at Super Value and quality supermarkets.
Be sure to stay cool all year round, especially when those hot summer months roll in. Keep cool with Cool Tech. Located Tony Williams Darling Highway, Cool Tech is your affordable #1 air conditioning center. They install and service everything they sell. That means prompt, reliable service 24/7. Cool Tech, the only way to stay cool with guarantee. Call Cool Tech now at 341-5665.
I just don't believe it.
What's the matter?
I went to put money on my fixed deposit at my bank, and they ain't even offering me half or 1% interest. Now, they got to be joking.
Why don't you try BOB? BOB gives you higher interest on a range of savings and deposits, including short, medium, and long-term investments.
Now, that sounds like my kind of bank.
That's why BOB is my bank.
Earn higher interest on a range of savings and fixed deposits at BOB, your bank of solutions. Some restrictions apply.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years. And that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is a foundation for an even greater future. Call us today or visit cfal.com and seize your future.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
Steve, I don't believe what the former prime minister said, because he had the access to the money, and he wouldn't say, I steal it or whatever to make himself look bad.
Well, I think we're in a very interesting place, because you had an election campaign where a lot of allegations were made long before we got to Parliament and long before the election results came out.
See, the minute you go off course, that's the minute I suspect that you were not telling me the truth.
Ain't no honeymoon, ain't no getting to know you, because we got to know you on the campaign trail.
Now that 2017 and you were worse at this time than ever before.
Right.
And it started with so much things. But you know what the major things was for me? It was the scandals. And the fact that the leader doesn't address what's right and what's wrong.
We want to see the country built.
And we're into the backstretch today on Hard Copy Live, and you can call me at 325-023-516. I deliberately put out there today the sentiments of many people who believe that they could become extinct if they don't get it all together. It doesn't mean that we've passed judgment on them. This is what's on the lips of many people. And I know that there are people who are like, boy, I don't know, that sounds scary. But the truth be told, there's even a gentleman by the name of Loftus Roca, whom I don't often quote, who's in the Tribune today on the headline story that says, arrogant PLP face oblivion. And that's almost like arrogant PLP face extinction. Just replace the word, same thing. See, and this is what people have to come to terms with. He is one of them who, in fact, has been pulling from the sidelines that they can get it together, and they don't seem to be in a position of getting it together. They've had opportunities that they let slip through their fingers. Alfred Sayers is one of those opportunities. Renard Rigby and so many others who have been there saying, look, for God's sake, let us do this. I mean, Chester Cooper came along and say, look, let us apologize and go back and humble ourselves and repent. Mitchell says, now, see, you're going too far. They don't say that word, repent. Don't say that. That's like saying, that don't work too well with them. So there are a number of things that are happening. He sits in the Senate, Fred Mitchell sits in the Senate. Fred Mitchell is also looking to become the leader of the PLP. As strange as that may sound to some of you, he wants to be the leader too. Believe it. He is gearing up. He is going to all these little council meetings and all these little gatherings with the young people trying to, get it going. We got to watch Fred. Fred got tricks. Alfred wants to be the leader, and some other people wants to be the leader. But Picewell is saying, no way. Only the leaders can come within that party at this particular time from the four who were there. And I suppose in a way you can understand what he's saying, because at least they went through all the mess and they came out victorious, so why shouldn't one of them be the leaders? We got more from Picewell Forbes. In fact, he was talking about Brave Davis in the soundbite that he talked about Davis and challenges, but Davis apparently, as far as Picewell Forbes is concerned, is the man.
My leader, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, not afraid of young people and their mindset and their challenges and their new way and creative way of thinking. Brave is not afraid. He likes young people. It invigorates or reinvigorates him. And so the fact of the matter is, I keep on telling people, someone said to me the other day, y'all should go no less than about 40 to 50% young, 25 to 44 years old for your candidates in the upcoming general election. It's a good suggestion. I think we have to bring in lots of new energy and lots of new faces in the party. But that vetting process is going to be one that's going to take some time. We're going to go through that process pretty quickly. We're going to be going out to all the communities, branches, and they're going to be reorganize and everything. Yes. And Bradley Roberts, our present chairman, has already said he's not going to be holding on when the elections are held. When the party goes to convention, he would not be reoffering. So the party has to look for a new chairman. Then the process is going to be open one. Everyone can jostle for the position that they want.
Everybody can jostle for the position they want. This person texts me, says, Steve, tell Paisel Forbes, ask Alfred Gray if he still think the Bahamian people only need a couple dollars in a t-shirt to vote for the PLP. People, they're not going to ease up. This is the kind of stuff that's going to happen for some time. This person says, I have nothing against Mr. McCartney and the DNA, but they need a change in leader, like the FNM did when they won the first time. Maybe Greg Moss or Alfred Sayers or one of the other serious-minded politicians, but they need a change in personnel at the top, is what that person says. Another one says this to me, I have nothing against, oh, I read that. This person says that, leader, what leader? What leader? It was only one leader, and that was Christie. Child, please, suck my teeth. This person is talking about Paisel saying that Brave is his leader, right? Anyway, there's another person says, Steve, if the FNM falls short of delivering what they said, we will all be jackasses, to go back to the PLP. Excuse my language, he says, but that's exactly what we'll be. And of course, I've got many text messages here. This person says, good day, Steve. Tell people like Reconciler to be, good day, Steve. Tell people like Reconciler to be patient, because no one knows what this government find in place. You just can't jump into things, although some things were said on the campaign trail. So let me deliver that message. Reconciler, be patient. That's what that person says. Another one says that, Steve, if the PLP and the stalwarts have any sense, they would take Alfred Sayers as a leader. No question. Anyone who challenges Sayers for leader needs to something. Okay. That's what that person says. He believes that Sayers should be the man. Steve, you and the rest of the media have been the official opposition for a while now. The FNM was a lousy opposition, case in point. The media kept the PLP feet to the fire. So carry on, is what that person says. Another one says this, Steve, I'm a PLP supporter who voted for the FNM this cycle. I like Alfred Sayers, but I think he's a part of the old crew as well. We need fresh new faces. And that's another point this person has brought up. What about this whole thing about the old weapons can no longer do the work anymore? All of this is a part of the PLP's dilemma right now, old weapons. And some people even try to put that on to the FNM, saying that some fellas came back there in this particular time with minutes and that they're old weapons. Well, you can interpret it how you want. The bottom line is this, that the way that things were done in the past, in the last regime, the last government, was not impressive. They got it totally wrong. They were totally oblivious to what the people were looking at and what the people wished for and hoped for. All them promises about hope and help on the way, all those things about the bridge to the future, all that nonsense, it's just turned out to be all nonsense. Just words that people said, leaders like Christie said, just words. And Reconciler talked about all kinds of things. There's also something called retribution. Don't forget that. There's also retribution. Retribution is something that the young people today call karma. They say it all the time, boy, karma some may. When I look at the Facebook pages and I see the little tweets and stuff, I say, yeah, they understand it. They call it karma, retribution. What goes around comes around. And a lot of things that have happened here. You know, Loftus Roker, who has lived a lifetime, I mean, you know, he's up in age, but he's still very, 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 very sharp on these matters. He's saying that, you know, the arrogance of the PLP, arrogant PLP faces oblivion. And there's some who are saying, Jeffrey Johnstone reminded us that, hey, look, gentlemen, for all intent and purposes, the UBP is dead. And he said, you got to find some people who look like them, walk like them, talk like them, live like them, but who's listened to we? Some said they found that man in Hubert Ingram. They won 2 terms. Last time there was a 2-term government in this country. 92 and 97. Never again. From then, we've been playing the political yo-yo of UN, IN, UN, IN, IN, UN. I tell you, that didn't fare too good for Jamaica. Michael Manley and Edward Siega, that's how they're 2 big giants, and those 2 parties went at it up and down, and the next thing you know that everything happened wrong. Money's got devalued. IMF walked in and dealt with them some serious blows, and there was no stability. That was perceived back then as lack of stability. In our country, we have been bragging about our parliamentary democracy and a stable parliamentary democracy all these 200 and some years, almost 300 years now, that we've had it. And so some of these new agencies like IMF and IDB and Moody's and Standard & Poor's, all of them, put them together. Their whole viewpoint about these kinds of things now is that you're not stable. You could have political upheaval. Y'all ain't look like y'all know what y'all doing. Change in government every 5 years. The investors aren't pleased with that. Their whole thing is that, boy, I ain't sure gonna happen to my money now. And that's where we are. I tell you, it's quite interesting. Are you there? Good afternoon. Hello, are you there? Call me back, 325-023516. And I've got many text messages today, so let me read some of these. Everything is relative, Steve. It's time for your party. No joke. Everything is relative, Steve. It's time for your party now. No joke. I hear you. I can try not to laugh, but I hear you. Time for my party, eh? This person here says, anyone who challenges says for leader needs to come with their own written and published national plan, like Alfred says. Vision for our revolution plan. And that's what this person was saying. Yeah, he didn't finish the text earlier. He says, if you ain't coming with no plan, that is earth-shattering, that is swashbuckling, don't come. That's what this fella's saying. And, I think that Sayers really did put up a very, very good plan. Just prior to the general elections, this happened in January. I read his whole plan. I was very impressed. I had him here on the show a couple of times, and he had a very impressive situation. But, the PLPs were not interested in that. And that's why I tell you, boy, retribution is a serious thing. Alfred was saying to them in simple words, look what you could get when you're tired of what you got. Now, he ain't no dancer like Perry Christie. That's the only thing that Christie could have beat Alfred Sayers doing, dancing. Because Alfred Sayers, when he danced, he's danced like white people, man. He'd be doing the jig. How they dance all wild. So Alfred Sayers, he's no dancer. But, he got plenty good ideas. And he said to me, well, Steve, dancing will not be a part of my portfolio in the new government, I wouldn't propose to dance too much. 325-023516. Hard copy. How you doing? No, I'm sorry. Okay, call me back. 325-02-52053, and you can call me. Let me see what else I have here. You got to have fun with this thing, because the truth be told, if you all, on a sober note, are counting out the DNA and any other third party, that's what The Guardian published this morning. And I like The Guardian's editorials. I read them because they're always interesting, just like the Tribune. I read all of them. But they're saying definitively that, please, Mr. Brandville, just back on the side and leave this alone. Don't try no more. you know, when you look at that for what it's worth, we don't stand a chance if this thing don't work out. It's like we put all of our eggs in one basket and we're hoping against hope and everything else that this is it. Minutes come, boy, church out. Minutes reach. Minutes is here. Church is out. You ain't got no more problem. Everything cool. Buddy, we got that. It's how it's being interpreted. But what if you may need to have an alternative just to be in the distant, right over the shoulder? Not so far, just right over the shoulder, so that you try something crazy. The people say, gotcha. But the way this thing is going, it looks as if we're saying, the hell with the PLP. Don't try no more DNA. And we are pretty much happy that this is it. We have found the match. This is it. This is the end all be all, and we're going to be okay. That's why the PLP and them got to get it together. But they probably wouldn't. This person says, Prime Minister is within the reach of Mr. Alfred says, but if he thinks he will become Prime Minister in the PLP with Brave Davis, Pipesville Force, and the rest of the old PLP MPs hanging around, he tell a lie. He need to switch party. PM will slip through his fingers if he don't switch party. Hubert Ingham switch. So can he, is what this person is saying. Our Lord says, the people on your case now, they said, if you don't switch parties. In the news, there are some reporters who call it switching gears now. So we'll say switch gears. Say he's a PLP. He's a born, heart, and soul PLP. He believes in the philosophy of the PLP. He believes in all that they personify, all that they say that they want to be. That's what Sayers is. Sayers is die hard. That, you know, he's a part who's married to the philosophy. You need to understand that. He's not a Perry Christie PLP. He's not a Brave Davis PLP. He is a person who is a Bahamian who believes in the ideals and the ideology of that PLP. The piddling kind of PLP, that grouping that was motivated as young men coming up, that they're going to be somebody and be something great. That's what Sayers represents. And there are several of them who are like that. I believe Phil Galanis is like that. I believe Renard Rigby is like that, that they are people who believe in the ideals, the spirit of it, the wipe all the tears away spirit, the real, we love you, we're going to do good. We are a grassroots group of people who just want to do the right thing. Some of them are still left, you know. Most of the stalwart councils were like that. But of course, when they get that big sash pinned on them, some of them forget that they say, child, I got mine. Child, I got mine. If you ain't got yours, that's your business. And there goes all the humility, and there goes all the commonality among the people who are supposed to be looking out for each other. That's what politics will do for you. It will really make you sweat, change some things. Oh boy, here's what somebody else said to me. Say, Steve, I don't think Sayers has the charisma needed to lead that forgotten party called the PLP. The PLP is a party of pomp and pageantry. All fluff, no substance. They need a fluffy leader. A fluffy leader. What does that mean? What is a fluffy leader? Well, what about Fred? Fred is fluffy. Oh, I don't know. With Fred, it seems to be fluffy. He's a fluffy leader, isn't he? What do you mean, no comment? You can comment on that. Is Fred a fluffy leader? Anyway, I leave Fred alone. Bradley, Minky, Grimes, and some others just can't let go. These are the reasons why nobody would be with them. Bradley, Minky, Grimes, and some others just can't let go, says this person. Wow. So there are people who are engaged about this whole idea about what's going to happen with the PLP. There are people who are engaged with that. They are thinking about it, even though they're not talking about it as much. There are people who are concerned about it too. I mean, this is the party of pending. And right here, I've got to remember the old lady who I interviewed some years ago. She says,
Mr. McKinney, let me tell you, when Penland came, that's how she started, she says, when Penland came, we had hope. It's an old lady, she told me that. I was doing an interview on the Life and Times of Lyndon Penland, documentary for television. She says, they treated me like dirt, and then Penland came. She says, when Penland came, everything started. I mean, she really was sincere. So I say that today in memory of her, who's, I think she's gone on now. But the point is that Penland got things done. He had a philosophy. He had conviction in his philosophy. He had a philosophy for governance, a philosophy for the standard of living. He had an idea, and he was bold enough to go and try to do it. And many people back then saw Penland as a savior. You may not believe that. Of course, they called him the Black Moses and everything else. They say when Penland came, that's when the party started. That's when things began to happen in the country, when Penland came. You think that they'll ever say that about Mitchell or any of the others? There was a philosophy, a sound philosophy for governance. And back then, they used to have conventions that made sense. The conventions, what they used to have, had a message and a theme. And those messages and theme, they played, and people understood where the direction was. And Penland had style. This fellow had style. He would come, step now, you know, he would come, we're going to the new frontier. He would have styles with his thing. It wasn't all just rhetoric. It was rhetoric with a little substance, if at all possible. And people believed him. And he got it done. And he did some things. This last lot of politicians, man, they've been doing just fool. They had no gamemanship. They just dead. They ain't got it. I say all that today to say to you that can they get the magic back? Is Renard Rigby and them able to get the magic, to get to put the power back into a group that was once so loved? I think that those days are gone. But I could be wrong. But to see how these things are happening now where they are throwing them out. Is that the documentary? The one that we did? It's interesting. To see where things are going now, people aren't that impressed, man. And with the young fellas like Galanis and them, who are still relatively young, saying what they're saying, it's time for a change within the leadership and in the philosophy of that group. But then again, as I said earlier, who cares? We care. People who understand how important democracy is and how important it is to have alternatives, we care. That's why we talk about it. And so while this may have been boring to you and painful for some of you who don't want to hear those words about the PLP could become extinct, that's too bad. We talk it as we see it. We mean them no malice. We hope that today's show would have gotten them invigorated to the point where they'll try to get some things done and try to save themselves or get lost and have the new people save themselves, save the party. It's up to them. So I begin or I end as I begun. Gentlemen, says Jeffrey Johnstone, for all intent and purposes, the UBP is dead. They must find a new group of fellas who look like them, meaning the Bahamian people, talk like them, meaning the Bahamian people, walk like them, meaning the Bahamian people, live like them, meaning the Bahamian people, but who listen to us. Interesting, is what Jeffrey Johnstone said. That soundbite that I was telling you about, I got it right here for you with the lady who says, when Penland came, the magic of radio and television, eh?
Independence was everything a poor person wanted of a prime minister.
He's the father of this country. I think he is one of the.
I want you to cue that back up to where she says when Penland came. Interesting. What's her name again? Has her name on the screen? Yeah, this is quite interesting. This is just for you fellas from back then. Play it.
All started with and from Sir Lyndon Oscar Penland. Sir Lyndon Penland was everything a poor person wanted of a prime minister.
Yeah, Mama was serious back then. And that was quite an interesting documentary that we did. Is that in the archives of the McKinney Media Group? Yeah, so they can access that. How they can get that? Just go to YouTube. Yeah, look for what? Father the Nation. You look for Father the Nation, you'll get that documentary that my son and I did on Lyndon Penland and all that. Very interesting. Anyway, I got a couple of calls. So let me take these calls before I go home. Hard copy, how are you?
Good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Wonderful.
Mr. McKinney, I agree with everything you said today. Okay? God is in control of this nation. This is his own, and he had put an end to the PLP era.
I hear you.
Okay? That is it.
I see. I appreciate it. Thank you for your call. So that lady said, that's it. Say an era has passed. That's that. Will they become extinct? Hard copy, how are you?
Steve, they were extinct from the day they defrauded the Bahamian people out of the privileged words that were given to the Bahamian people by them when they said they believe in us. They deprived themselves.
I see.
The time has come. The time has surprised all of us. You see, time catch up with everything. And so we are grateful to have such a glorious host like Mr. McKinney to defend the interest, the national interest over individual interest. Yet, without individual interest that the preamble of the Constitution speaks to and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights speaks to, what do we really have? You see, there was unity that was demonstrated on the 10th of May 2017. It's going to take unity. And just before with the unity, we're going to have some serious courage, Steve, okay? Courage is what the Bahamian people is going to need to move their individual lives forward by using, like Malcolm X say, but within the law, any means necessary as it relates to social media and the World Wide Web and to get their individual gifts out there.
I got you. I hear you. I hear you, Brother Amos. I hear you loud and clear. That's just the way it is. Well, listen, it's been my pleasure, and certainly I want to thank Phil Kalanis. Phil Kalanis, who in fact, you found it? I want to thank Phil Kalanis, who in fact inadvertently contributed to this show by having a column that said the things that it said. And even the Nassau Guardian, though, has extrapolated some stuff from it today in today's paper, though this column appeared yesterday. They took some things from it today and made a story of it that talks about the whole idea that Roberts must go home and sit down and don't try to run no more. And obviously these guys are on the move to clean up what's left of the image of that party. And when Penland came, you got that?
Child, let me tell you. Look at here. Before Sir Lyndon came in the bean, look at every shop on Bay Street had a white plate, and you couldn't wait on Bay Street because you was black. Now, I won't talk for the Royal Bank of Canada at all. When Sir Lyndon came, he said, no more yes, sir, boss. No more yes, sir, miss. Because before Sir Lyndon came, if the child big so, you had to say miss and mister. When Linden came into being, that was finished. He said every man is a man and every woman is a woman, no more yes or more. Hire them or regret it. Hire the blacks or regret it.
As Mama talking on that documentary, boy, what we did. So
that was a man of God sent him. God sent him to take the shackles off our neck. Without Linden, we would have been nothing.
After, I tell you, when Penland came, my Lord. Anyway, that gave me goose pimples just now, looking back at that from the archives of the McKinney Group. And you can get it on YouTube. I suggested you go. It's good required learning and listening. Go check it out. Go to the YouTube channel and look. It's under The Father of a Nation, and you'll see it. I thank you so much. Stephen, let's go home. Today's show has been brought to you by CFAL, also by Bike in the Bahamas, the show Bistro on Nassau Street, Mount Tabor's Inspiration, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, Water and Sewage Corporation, the Ministry of Tourism, Travel the Islands this summer, Echo, one of the official one of hard copy, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, now available for you in time for travel this summer. Cool Tech, the air can do experts on Tonic Williams Darling Highway. Also, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages. Super Wash open 24/7. Advantage Insurance and Broker 61 Collins Avenue. Ron's Electric Motors on Cards and Wolf Road. Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. And the McKinney Media Group Limited for advertisement, public relations, and a consultation. Tomorrow, then, is Wednesday. We hope to come back here on Wednesday and bring you some other new stuff. Perhaps we'll have a guest for you tomorrow. And we say good night from Hard Copy. God willing, we shall see you tomorrow.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.
Love is in the air, everywhere I look.